attendance and for being there this morning. My name is Malcolm Guy, and I'm the Secretary General of the International League of People's Struggle. One of the coordinators of this weekend's event with the International Women's Alliance. So, to start, I would like to recognize that the territory where we're holding this conference is unceded territory belonging to the Mississaugas of the New Credit. The territory that is now known as Toronto has a rich history that extends back thousands of years before the first Europeans arrived. And in fact, the word Toronto originates from an indigenous word, Te Karanto, which translates to the place in the water where the trees are standing. A reference is said to come from the fact that fishers posted their stakes for fishing in the narrows of the river systems around here. Of course, today, many of those same river systems are paved over with concrete, as you know. So we recognize today and we thank the Mississaugas of New Credit for giving us the right to hold our conference on their territory. Thank you. And of course, you'll see Mississauga on the name as you go out. We borrow a few indigenous names and name our cities after them. Of course, other than Toronto, there's Mississauga just to the west of here. So, I would like to invite at this time, my co-MC, Helda Kazmi of Saruni and the International Women's Alliance to join me on stage. Let me tell you a little bit about Helda. So Helda is the mother of two girls, hails from Sumatra Island, West Indonesia. She's currently living in the Riau province, an area which has been affected by the haze disaster caused by forest and peatland burned by the big corporate palm oil plantations for the last 18 years. Helda has been involved in the progressive movement for 17 years. Beginning in the student movement, and where she protested against mine evictions and supported the peasant struggle against bourgeois and feudal capitalist domination. In 2004, Helda was involved in the development of AGRA, which is a national peasant organization in Indonesia. And 2 years later, in 2006, she helped form Saruni, a mass organization of progressive women, and she was elected this past May the chairperson at its first Congress. Helda, of course, is also a member of the IWA's executive committee. So Helda will be saying a few words now to welcome us all to this conference. Helda.
Thank you. Selamat pagi. Selamat pagi, you can. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you look Indonesian people now. Yeah, we try to imperialism down in Indonesia. You can follow me. Imperialisme hancurkan. Imperialisme hancurkan. Imperialisme hancurkan. Imperialisme hancurkan. Yeah, that's nice. Look like Indonesian people. It's hard for me to be in English very well, but I can try. Good morning, friend and comrade. On behalf of the International Women's Alliance, I welcome you to all to our conference today. And I will read the opening welcome. Oppressed peoples and nations unite to combat U.S. imperialism, nuclear, dogma, and threats. On behalf of International Women Alliance, I would like to welcome each one of you to solidarity and beg and Fightback conference in Toronto. It is a great honor for IWA to host a commemoration of Hiroshima and Nagasaki atomic nuclear bombing by US imperialists 72 years ago. The people around the world shall never forget the ruthless, inhuman, and indiscrimination mass killing by the US government. IWA extends our deepest respect to all delegates from the oppressed peoples and nations victimized by wars of aggression, intervention, occupation, and plunder, but continue the struggle against US imperialism. We sincerely appreciate your support to this anti-war conference. Today, we come together to mark the use of atomic nuclear weapons by US imperialism for the first time to attack and massacre the Japanese and terrorize all nations and peoples. US imperialist attacks 120,000 people in Hiroshima and 74,000 people in Nagasaki, not counting the missing and injured. Although the UN General Assembly has approved its resolution in 1946 to eliminate nuclear weapons, but the weapon of mass killing and destruction remains a reality today. Rather than disarm and eliminate its own nuclear weapons, US imperialism and the same with other new nuclear powers continue to produce more and more nuclear weapons for no other purpose except to colonize other nations and territories. As working women and oppressed people, IWA retired our aspiration. We don't want all forms of imperialist wars and plunder. Stop using nuclear weapons against humanity. We join with all peoples and nations in the world to call a ban on nuclear weapons. Unfortunately, US imperialism refuses to surrender and intensify the use of nuclear weapons against nations and people who defend their sovereignty and fighting for national liberation. Such threats has also forced any countries developing its own nuclear weapons as defense. Unfortunately, it becomes a way to break from the US monopoly. In consequence, an imperialist nuclear war is very possible in the future. The only way to stop the war on aggression and the use of nuclear weapons permanently is to defeat the US imperialists, the number one terrorist and killer against humanity. For this to be materialized, the oppressed peoples and nations around the world must unite, broaden, and strengthen our anti-imperialist front. It is the only way to face US imperialism, to stop their nuclear weapons production and test. Such moves will also be followed by other countries who developed their nuclear weapons. In the past, our heroes resisted the war by campaigning for peace and bread. They were at the forefront to raise awareness, educate and mobilize the people to resist the war, which impacted the children, women, men, and all the people. We in the International Women's Alliance will also continue their spirit and legacy. Let's unite to end imperialist war and plunder. Let's work hard and hand in hand to defending the new worlds we are all and visioning. A world where humanity is respected, where women enjoy equality, and where peace is upheld. Long live oppressed people and nation. Long live international solidarity. Imperialismo! Imperialismo! Hancurkan! Thank you very much.
So now, okay. Helda, I think this is you still.
Thank you. It is now my honor to introduce the chair of the ILPS, Professor Jose Maria Sison, who will also share welcome remarks. Professor Jose Maria Sison is Filipino patriot, proletarian revolutionary and internationalist. He is Filipino statesman, known for his experience in and knowledge of the people's democratic government and revolutionary forces in the Philippines. He is recognized as the foremost thinker and leader of the Filipino People's Movement for National Liberation and Democracy over the last 50 years. Professor Sison could not be with us in person. She is joining us via a video message.
Fellow activists and friends, in the name of the International League of People's Struggle, I welcome all who are now gathered under the banner of solidarity and fightback, building resistance to US-led war, militarism, and neo-fascism. You come as anti-war and social justice activists and representatives of organizations, networks, and movements from different countries. You oppose wars, militarism, repression, and foreign intervention by the US and other imperialist powers, and you advocate and support the rights of peoples with self-determination, justice, liberation, and peace. I congratulate the General Secretariats, national chapters, and member organizations of the ILPS and International Women's Alliance for successfully sponsoring and preparing the conference and the related forums, workshops, cultural performances, and mass rally and march. All participants are assured of an enlightening and exciting program of activities. Coming from the front lines of resistance in the Middle East, Africa, Asia, the Americas, and Europe, you can exchange experiences and learn from each other. In the forums, you can acquire knowledge of the many phases of war, militarism and neo-fascism, and the various forms of people's resistance. In the workshops, you can learn in depth about the US military bases, the military-industrial complex, the national security state, neo-fascism, First Nations, colonialism and war, migrants and refugees, the role of media, faith and war, and the duty to defend the people's rights amidst war and repression. You shall join and enjoy the cultural performances to celebrate our solidarity with the people in the struggle. We shall march with the people against war, injustice, and repression. In all activities, we shall promote equality of genders and give full play to the role of women in rising against neo-fascism, resisting militarism, and achieving liberation. The urgent call for all of us to reverse the tide of war by building a global movement against militarism, injustice, and repression. We can respond to the call by heeding the guidelines in answer to the 10 questions put forward before the conference. The Trump regime of US imperialism is indeed escalating militarism and war. The escalation is driven by the ever-worsening economic and financial crisis of the US and world capitalist system. The US is waging a global war of terror. It is guilty of war crimes. In so many ways, it is waging war against the broad masses of the people. It is waging war against the planet by plundering the environment and producing and deploying nuclear weapons. It is deploying more military bases and forces on a global scale. The US monopoly bourgeoisie, especially the financial oligarchy and the military-industrial complex, profit most from the US war production and wars of aggression. The proletariat and oppressed peoples of the world are resisting war, militarism, and Neo-Fascism on an expanding and intensifying scale. To stop the monstrous forces of imperialism, we can and must wage various forms of struggle. I wish you the utmost success at the conference. You must discuss comprehensively and profoundly the guidelines put forward in order to raise your common resolve and revolutionary struggle to a new and higher level against imperialism and all reaction, and for national liberation, democracy, and socialism. We must fight and defeat US imperialism and its cohorts in order to bring about a fundamentally new, better, and brighter world. Long live the proletariat and all oppressed peoples of the world. Down with US imperialism and its cohorts. Resist war, militarism, and Neo-Fascism. Wage all forms of resistance on a global scale. Long live international solidarity.
International solidarity.
So thank you very much to ILPS Chair Jose Maria Cizon, and for IWA ICC member Helga Kazmi for getting this conference started on a militant note. Can we give both of them a hand again, please? So it'll be myself and Helga who will be taking you through the day's activities, so bear with us as we do what we can to make this lively and militant. So I just wanted to say one thing I wanted to mention when I talked about the fact that we're on indigenous territory here is later we're going to be live streaming, and we'll try to bring it to you here in the room from a vigil which is underway and has been for a considerable amount of time in front of a Canadian government office here called INAC, or Indigenous and Northern Affairs Canada. It's not far from here. So we're inviting a few people to go up there later, and we're going to live stream from there, and they're going to tell us about their struggle. Particularly what they're talking about is the fact there have been a series of suicides of children on the reserves, and they're going to draw attention to that, why that is still happening in the so-called developed country of Canada. So we'll be having a thing from them later. We'll fit it in as soon as we're able to do so. I wanted to say that we were officially about 270 official people registered today, so let's congratulate ourselves. We were aiming for 200 to 250, so we made it. Well done. Later on, I'll try to let you know how many countries and how many organizations exactly are here. We'll have that figure later. So I'll hand it back to Helga now.
Yeah, well, we have come from many different places. We are united to our resolve to fight for self-determination, justice, liberation, and peace. Yeah. And even like this would never have been possible without the support of our communities, organizations, and volunteers. We'd like to thank our major contributors, And those, maybe Malcolm.
Yes, I'll help you with the names. So there's the Canadian Union of Public Employees, SCFA, there's Unifor, there's the, I'll go slowly for the interpreters, but there's the United National Anti-War Coalition, there's the Ottawa Carleton QP District Council, the Ontario Public Interest Research Group, OPIRG, York University, the Canada-Palestine Association, Public Service Alliance of Canada, Michel Côté, Philip Fernandez, Socialist Action Canada. So some of our contributors and endorsers have literature tables and other items outside in the lobby, so we encourage you to visit and support them. We would also like to thank our team of volunteer interpreters who are providing, in the back there, simultaneous interpretation in French and Spanish. Merci beaucoup à nos interprètes qui sont en arrière, qui vont traduire tous aujourd'hui en français puis en espagnol. Puis j'espère que vous allez apprécier ça parce que nous sommes une organisation anti-impérialiste mais internationale et internationaliste. And I would also like to generally welcome people here who are French-speaking and Spanish-speaking. J'aimerais aussi vous inviter à applaudir nos camarades qui sont ici, qui parlent le français et l'espagnol. So I'd like you to give a hand to those people here who speak French, Spanish, and other languages. All languages are accepted, and we will translate if necessary. So dozens of other people are volunteering on site today and have volunteered over the past few weeks and months to make this conference a reality. To thank them all individually would take us a few hours, maybe the whole day. And we're already late, so we won't do that. But I'd like you now to give them a really warm round of applause for the incredible work that they've done over the past, I don't know how many, okay, give it out. Okay, now we're going to go in stuff. We'll get it out of the way fast. Okay, washrooms are downstairs, okay? Some of you have already discovered that, yes. So you already know, I already mentioned, we'll be providing simultaneous interpretation in French, English, and Spanish. And also that will continue here, but we will also have interpretation in some of the workshops as well, which we'll be giving in other languages. So make sure you pick up the necessary devices when you go into the rooms. Please return your headset at the end of each day. If you leave with them, we have to pay for them. And we might not have to do that. So please do not forget, leave your headset at the end of the day, please. You'll have another one tomorrow, and we'll be even faster tomorrow getting it out. Okay. Lunch will be served in the Alumni Hall, directly across from this auditorium. So a delicious lunch will be served there as soon as we can get to it after our first workshops and speeches. So, Helga.
Yeah, finally, we need to let the world know that this event is happening. So please utilize your social media, tag at Solidarity Fightback and use hashtag Solidarity Fightback. No to US war, hashtag no to US militarism. You can also promote the conference anti-war movement that we are building by buying a conference t-shirt. Just $10, I don't know. Please visit the tables and the lobby to purchase a t-shirt.
Okay, so at this time, we'll start the official proceedings. Thank you very much, Helga. So I would like to invite Camarada Florentino Lopez. Our first keynote speaker this morning. Our first keynote. Get your listening devices ready. Our first keynote speaker this morning is from the Frente Popular Revolucionario and ILPS Mexico, Florentino Lopez. I've had the pleasure of knowing, yes, please, another hand. Yeah. I had the pleasure earlier this year of attending the founding of the ILPS chapter in Mexico. And that was a victory for our comrades in Mexico. I had the pleasure, I was invited to attend the founding, and I saw the amazing work that they're doing across Mexico. I wanted to let you know that also, because it says need bio here, so I don't have a bio in front of me, so I'm ad-libbing this, but I do know that we do have, besides being from Mexico, Florentino is also an indigenous person. So, as you know, Mexico has a huge indigenous population. So, Florentino will be speaking in Spanish, as I mentioned, so please prepare to listen to your devices. Camarada Florentino. Okay.
Yeah, hi. Channel 1 is English and French, and Channel 6 is if you need to listen in Spanish, okay? In general, okay?
Gracias. Merci. Thank you. Okay.
El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. Estimados amigos y compañeros, desde distintas geografías del mundo, con lenguas y culturas distintas, hemos venido hasta la punta norte del continente americano, aquí en la ciudad de Toronto, con la finalidad de compartir nuestros puntos de vista, las experiencias de lucha, pero sobre todo para imaginar y acordar colectivamente la construcción de un mundo mejor para los trabajadores y los pueblos de nuestro planeta. Estoy seguro que cada uno de los que aquí estamos hemos soñado con un mundo sin explotación ni opresión, un mundo donde no se destruya la naturaleza y el medio ambiente, donde el hombre y la mujer sean considerados iguales en sus derechos, donde los distintos pueblos de todas las latitudes, sin importar color ni creencias, podamos convertir en armonía y fraternidad, sin la amenaza de una guerra, sin el sometimiento de otros países, sin la opresión ni la explotación de los oligarcas y los gobiernos de nuestros propios países. A lo largo de la historia de la humanidad, han sido muchos los pueblos que han dado muestra que ese mundo que aspiramos es posible. Pero también los enemigos de la paz, los apologistas de la guerra, los que sienten que su misión es el sometimiento de los pueblos y el enriquecimiento a costa del trabajo ajeno y la destrucción de la naturaleza, siempre han estado ahí para imponer un mundo desigual, un mundo de terror, y así su historia vino del esclavismo de los reyes y el feudalismo de los emperadores, hasta llegar a nuestra época, la época de la dominación del capital sobre el trabajo, la época del imperialismo y las guerras de rapiña. La época del imperialismo es la etapa más desarrollada del sistema capitalista. Es la etapa de dominación del capital financiero internacional. La época de los monopolios que controlan la economía en vastos territorios y están interconectados entre sí, hasta convertir al mundo entero en un solo mercado, en una sola fábrica, con una división internacional del trabajo que divide a los países entre dominantes y dependientes, en industrializados y exportadores de materias primas. Pero la época del imperialismo también es la etapa de la crisis generalizada e irreversible, de la crisis generalizada e irreversible, de la decadencia total del sistema capitalista. La crisis del capitalismo imperialista, desde que inició a principios del siglo pasado, ha provocado 2 guerras de escala mundial, cuyos únicos y verdaderos fines han sido la redistribución del mercado mundial, la división de los territorios de saqueo y dominación de los distintos bloques imperialistas. Precisamente mañana 6 de agosto se cumplirán 72 años en que los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica lanzó la bomba atómica sobre la población de Hiroshima y días después lo hizo sobre Nagasaki, en Japón. El lanzamiento de las bombas atómicas y los actos genocidas cometidos por el imperialismo norteamericano no es ni el comienzo de la barbarie imperialista, es nada menos que la confirmación de que la época del imperialismo también es la época del terror, en donde los pensamientos más retrógradas renacen y se expanden: el racismo, la xenofobia, el fascismo. En el pasado y en el presente, el imperialismo yanqui ha sido promotor principal de esas ideas retrógradas. La llegada del magnate Donald Trump a la Casa Blanca es el inicio de una nueva etapa de auge de las formas más sanguinarias de dominación imperialista. Desde el Capitolio norteamericano se está financiando el resurgimiento del fascismo a escala planetaria. El racismo y la xenofobia se desarrolla desde ahí en su máxima expresión. Los bombardeos en Siria el pasado mes de abril, las agresiones militares contra los distintos países del mundo árabe, las amenazas constantes contra Corea del Norte, la guerra económica que acaba de abrirse en esta semana contra Irán, Corea del Norte y Rusia, que sumados al bloqueo económico al digno pueblo cubano y las sanciones contra los funcionarios del gobierno venezolano, así como el despliegue militar y el financiamiento, promoción y puesta en acción de grupos terroristas y paramilitares en todo el orbe por parte de los Estados Unidos. Todos estos hechos, enmarcados al riesgo cada vez mayor de una nueva oleada de crisis económica mundial, están conduciendo aceleradamente hacia la Tercera Guerra Mundial, que sin duda, de estallar, sería una guerra imperialista, una guerra de rapiña, para alcanzar una nueva repartición del mercado, las materias primas y la fuerza de trabajo disponibles entre las potencias imperialistas. Toda la América Latina y el Caribe estamos asistiendo a una ofensiva del imperialismo yanqui con la llegada de Donald Trump. Venezuela y México hoy estamos en el centro de atención del Pentágono y la Casa Blanca. El intento de intervención militar de Estados Unidos violando la soberanía nacional de Venezuela es una amenaza que crece cada día, porque cuenta con el entreguismo de la derecha venezolana agrupada en la Mesa de Unidad Democrática, el MUD. En el caso de México, el control político con el gobierno títere de Enrique Peña Nieto, el control económico y militar, es una realidad que sigue profundizándose ahora con la renegociación del Tratado de Libre Comercio, el NAFTA. El empeño de Trump de construir el muro entre la frontera de México y Estados Unidos y la amenaza de repatriación de cerca de 6 millones de mexicanos, de migrantes mexicanos que generan la riqueza con su trabajo en los campos y las fábricas de Estados Unidos. La imposición de los gobiernos de la derecha reaccionaria en Argentina, Brasil, Perú y Colombia es parte de esta nueva correlación de fuerzas que el imperialismo ha generado para retomar el territorio latinoamericano como su patio trasero y proveedor principal de las materias primas. Ante el sensible crecimiento de los capitales chinos y rusos en esta región, toda esta ofensiva norteamericana, los bombardeos, la intervención militar, las amenazas de guerra económica y el bloqueo, las intervenciones veladas y descaradas, el saqueo de los recursos naturales y la depredación del medio ambiente, todas han encontrado una respuesta cada vez más generalizada. Los obreros y los campesinos, la juventud y las mujeres se han volcado a las calles para resistir, para luchar contra la guerra y el fascismo. Desde la Liga Internacional de la Lucha de los Pueblos, desde la América Latina y México, estamos convencidos de que hoy, a 72 años del genocidio provocado por la bomba atómica contra Hiroshima y Nagasaki, no solo hace falta rendirle un homenaje a las víctimas del imperialismo yanqui. Hoy es imprescindible que desde todos los rincones del planeta levantemos un poderoso movimiento, contra el peligro de fascismo y la guerra. Hoy se hace indispensable que los obreros y campesinos, los pueblos originarios y los defensores del medio ambiente, los jóvenes y las mujeres, los defensores de los derechos humanos y la comunidad LGTBI en general, todas las víctimas de la guerra y el fascismo, afiancemos nuestras organizaciones, sean redes, sean grandes o pequeñas, sean asambleas populares o colectivos, redes o sindicatos, ONGs o clubes de artistas e intelectuales. Todos juntos debemos levantar un gran frente único, antifascista y antiimperialista, que movilice a las masas, que salga a las calles y que convoque a huelgas generales. Es la única manera de levantar una verdadera muralla inquebrantable contra los que quieren estropear nuestros sueños y aspiraciones. Es la única manera verdaderamente efectiva para detener a los guerreristas que quieren ver de nuevo ríos de sangre. Por último, permítame desde esta palestra rendir un solemne homenaje a uno de los genios de la humanidad, quien junto con el defensor de los trabajadores y científico de todos los tiempos, Carlos Marx, trazó el camino de la lucha obrera mundial. Me refiero al gran Friedrich Engels, en ocasión de que hoy, 5 de agosto, se cumplen 122 años de que dejó de latir su corazón. Su obra y legado fue seguido después por los obreros rusos, a quienes también en este año celebramos desde la ILPS en ocasión del centenario de la Revolución Rusa. Muchas gracias, compañeras y compañeros. ¡Que viva el internacionalismo proletario! ¡Abajo el imperialismo!
Gracias. Muchas gracias, camarada Valentino. So, welcome to the world of interpretation, translation, and many languages. So many of you were searching for them, right? But what we did is we privileged the French and Spanish over the English, which I think is quite fitting. Yes? Yes. So we are working on that. So I think it's a good start. It's important we recognize that we are an international organization and we have to work at it, right? So if you have problems with your interpretation machines, the actual machine, go and exchange it. We take initiative to just go up there and get another one. And if you need instructions, go up there and get the instructions, because it's really important that you're able to understand and everything works, and we'll deal with a couple of the technical problems in the back. So thank you for your understanding. Merci beaucoup à tous pour votre compréhension. Nous avons eu des problèmes avec la traduction et nous allons le régler, mais nous avons privilégié le français et l'espagnol. So, we will now continue with back to the regular program.
Okay. We would now like to welcome our next keynote speaker, Laila Khalid. Yeah, Laila Khalid is the first icon of the Palestinian people's struggle and an inspiration to freedom fighters all over the world. Born in Haifa, she was 4 years old when her family was broken up, and like hundreds of thousands of Palestinians forced into exile by Zionist settlers. As a teenager, she joined the Lebanese people's struggle against French and US occupation, and later joined the Palestinian wing of the Arab nationalist movement. Today, she is a political bureau member of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, PFLP, a member of the Palestine National Council, and chief of the Refugees and Right for Return Department. Because he is blocked from entering the imperialist country of Canada, Ella is not able to join us in person, so we'll be delivering her talk via video. Laila Khalid.
Comrades, friends, sisters and brothers, on behalf of my people, the Palestinians, and my party, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, and myself, I extend warm greetings to the organizers of this conference and to you all. I'm honored to be given this opportunity to address you. This conference is very important, since it is held at a time when the world is undergoing crucial changes, and peoples of different countries are aware of the impact of these dramatic changes. Comrades and friends, we are all involved in many crises that motivate us to find the tools to make the change for the benefit of our peoples. While we are discussing the issue of change, it's very important to understand the realities and to define the enemies clearly, so our peoples can understand profoundly the means and the tools for fighting back. The conference is held under the slogan Solidarity, Fight Back, which is really suitable for our discussion. Before speaking about the way to fight back, it's more important to decide why we are fighting, what are the goals of our fight, and who we are fighting, so we can decide together how to establish a global movement for solidarity. The imperialists established a global system on all levels to impose more suppression on peoples. This global system is to make the rich more richer and the poor more poor. This is a class conflict as well. It's a reality of the conflict we are involved in. Comrades and friends, militarism is one phase of the imperialists and their allies. There are many examples that I can mention in this context. The United States and Israel are the main source of producing all kinds of weapons, which are sold to other countries to be used against peoples, so to strengthen and to escalate the conflicts in different countries. At the same time, to maximize profits for its military industry. Militarism is always interconnected with fascism and is contradictory with democracy. Militarism is a system to take full control over societies, ending with racism. This is the situation with the imperialist United States. The police have turned military, which means that racism is getting more obvious in the streets. The police are killing people with impunity. It's clear and obvious that white police are killing black citizens. This is the nature of imperialism, using the power of military in different aspects to divide the society according to color, race, sex, and religion. Comrades and friends, I'm speaking to you from a disturbed region that witnessed wars in different countries. It's the Middle East. It's in Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Libya, where people are killed in thousands. These wars are initiated and planned by the imperialist powers. On top of them, the United States, Israel, and their allies. I'm speaking to you on behalf of my people, the Palestinians, who are still under Zionist occupation for 70 years. Now, which is the longest occupation in history? This occupation is still going on because Israel is supported by the United States with all means of weapons, including nuclear weapons. Besides, the US is supporting this occupation on other levels, economically and politically. Despite facing the military power of the Zionists in our homeland, the Palestinians have been persistent in regard to their resistance and have sacrificed greatly through this ongoing struggle. You can follow up the history of this conflict between us and those war criminals who are still inflicting all kinds of pains and sufferings to our people. Israel has drew a policy which consists of confiscating land to build more settlements on our land. Second, demolishing houses and leaving families homeless. Third, uprooting our trees, especially olive trees, the main resource of living in occupied Palestine for our people. Fourth, besieging the Gaza Strip by turning it into a big open prison since 10 years. Besides, Israel launched 3 wars against 2 million of our people who are living in the Strip. Fifth, checkpoints all over the West Bank to hinder people from moving freely and to be humiliated on those checkpoints in our country, putting thousands of activists in jails, including children, women, elderly, and youth, committing field executions to implement the Israeli policy, shoot to kill. This policy resulted in hundreds of extrajudicial killings, besieging villages and cities as collective punishment to the people. In spite of these policies, the Palestinians continue to struggle for their freedom, supported by the progressive forces all over the world. You are part of them. Most recently, Israel has tried to take full control of Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the holiest place for Muslims all around the world. Israel's policy is to shift the conflict to a religious one, yet our people, Muslims and Christians, are united in defense of this holy place, as they were when the Israeli forces attacked the Nativity Church in Bethlehem in 2002. Our people are struggling to free their homeland from this hideous Zionist occupation, to achieve their right for return, for self-determination, and for the establishment of a democratic state in Palestine. Comrades and friends, Israel is abiding by the strategy of the Zionist movement that created it. This strategy is built on the racist Zionist ideology, which is based on ethnic cleansing in Palestine since the beginning of the 70 years occupation in 1948. Such a movement cannot build a democratic state. Only it can create and support apartheid. This is the real description of the state of Israel. On the international level, we witness the means that the imperialists are using to achieve their goals. They give themselves the right to interfere in countries that do not abide by their policies. They create reasons for their intervention, like putting economical sanctions on countries is one of their policies. Second, using the United Nations as a platform for their policies as well. Third, using the media to justify such a policy. Fourth, supporting the opposition in countries like what's happening in Venezuela against the socialist regime. Fifth, accusing some countries of supporting terrorism and terrorist groups to justify its intervention. Next, who is the source of terrorism? Who created and supported Al-Qaeda? Who created and supported ISIS? There is one answer to this question. It's the USA. Yes, USA is the main source of terrorism. Zionism is the source of terrorism as well. Occupation is terrorism by itself. State terrorism is the most dangerous. Supporting dictatorship in other countries, like the situation in the Philippines, against the poor peasants and grabbing their land, Sending the military to Syria, Iraq, Libya, and Yemen is terrorism as well. Putting harsh measures against the Greek people to accept the conditions to restructure the debt, which ended with more unemployment and another crisis for the Greek people. Comrades and friends, imperialism, Zionism, occupation create militarism and fascism. They are the real enemies of all the peoples in this world. They are united against us all. This means that we have the right to fight anywhere on this globe by one weapon. It's our unity. We have to extend our solidarity with peoples under repression, with all means, morally and materially. I end up by saying, as Gramsci said, when injustice is the law, resistance is the duty. Long live people's struggle.
Thank you. So we can repeat again our chants in Dawn in imperialism. Imperialisme ibaksa. Yeah, we can follow that. Yeah. Imperialisme ibaksa. Imperialisme ibaksa. Imperialisme hancurkan. Imperialisme hancurkan. Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Eddie Falcon. Are you Eddie Falcon here? Yeah. Eddie Falcon is on the board of directors of Iraq Veterans Against the War. He has been a member of the organization and its Bay Area chapter for 11 years. Eddie served as an air crew member in the U.S. Air Force from 2001 until 2005, was deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, and did medical evacuations in Hurricane Catherine. As a Mexican American, he saw personally how racism in the world, within the ranks and in the U.S., was perpetuated by militarism during his time in the service. He fought to be committed to resistance and activism, joining IWA just months after he separated from the military. He has also worked in other community projects in the Bay Area, such as Copwatch, an organization that documents police brutality and educates the public of their rights in the fight against the growing and oppressive police state. He has been an educator since 2012 and also speak in high school to students about the realities of war and the harsh threats involving military recruiting. Please, Eddie Falcon.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. You guys are very energetic today. That's good. You're giving me energy because I got in like at 3 in the morning last night. I'm pretty tired. So I don't got, but thanks. I'm feeling your energy. It's waking me up. Thank you very much. Yes. All right, I'll just start my speech. I knew I was going to say something. I was inspired by the things that people were saying up here, but I'm pretty wonky because I'm tired, so you're going to have to forgive me. I'm not all fiery like some of these other folks are. Thanks. So again, my name is Eddie Falcone. And thank you all for coming here today. And it is a big honor to be invited to this T-War conference here at the University of Toronto. That's where we're at, right? And to be speaking on this panel with these great people who have done years of committed work that they've done for the movement throughout their whole lives. I hope to have a long life with all of you and a shorter, victorious fight against imperialism. So I would like to begin speaking about some of my experiences in the military, how those events led me to becoming a member of Iraq Veterans Against the War, the work that we do as an organization, and finally speaking about some of the challenges that we are facing in the United States in this new era, maybe not so new, era of fascism that has become much more bolder since President Trump has come into office. It still feels very weird to say President Trump. Okay, so one thing I want to talk about is kind of how, U.S. soldiers like myself feel like we were used, or like we're pawns in this global chessboard, of militarism and imperialist war. So I served 4 years in the Air Force. I was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. I was honorably separated from the military in 2005, but I immediately wanted to begin to look for ways to resist imperialist wars that I just fought in. I joined the group Iraq Veterans Against the War because I identified strongly with the name. I am an anti-war veteran. This way of describing myself, I came to realize, may sound contradictory or like an oxymoron. At least that is the impression that I have gotten from people when I have traveled outside of the United States as a veteran. For example, when I was in school in Spain in 2008 and 2009, I had roommates that were from different European countries, and they doubted me when I told them that I was anti-war. And when I told them that I was an anti-war veteran, they asked questions like, but you signed up to do that, so why are you against it? Switching mics. All right, check. So they said, why are you against it? That's what you signed up to do. So I was also a little surprised, considering how much people hated President Bush and the wars at the time. I thought that they would be relieved to know that there was a movement of veterans opposing the wars. I think that some people don't understand, some people from Europe or maybe other places outside of the United States, I think that they don't understand how much the United States' history of racism and poverty contribute to the military's recruitment and the military's numbers. It is true that the involuntary draft does not exist anymore. Yet today we have what has been called the poverty draft. And I feel like I entered my service under what is called the poverty draft. So I am a first-generation Mexican-American. I come from a working-class family. No one in my family had ever graduated from college. My father also developed schizophrenia from drug use early in my childhood. I had to live in foster care because of the problems that this caused to my family. I watched as members of my own family and extended family were deported, arrested, or even killed by the police. By the way, I'm from the Los Angeles area, so in the 80s and 90s, the LAPD the Los Angeles Police Department was very, they still are, all the police are, but they were very, very known for very violent tactics. I saw how my own family was fighting without any sense against our own community when they became involved in gangs, in street gangs. And I saw how we had our dreams crushed by drugs and alcohol. So I didn't choose to go into the military because I believed in patriotism or because I wanted to fight in a war that I believed was going to help people or anything like that. I joined the Air Force to escape what I thought was escaping the violence of racism and poverty. And I wanted to take some steps forward in society by taking advantage of military benefits like education. Granted, this was like before 9/11 that I joined, so. When I finally made it into my squadron after boot camp, I noticed that I was the only person of color in my squadron. Or rather, I should say that the others noticed that I was different from them. I was alienated every day by the other members of my squadron. And they would call me racial slurs. They would call me things like spick, beaner, border jumper. I don't know if those translate into French. Speak, binaire. I'm sorry. Told you guys' energy's rubbing off on me. And then so I was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan after that, and I heard the way that the other soldiers used similar racial slurs against the Arab population, and I started to empathize with the Arab population because I was also being ridiculed. On some of my missions that I performed in Iraq, I transported hundreds of prisoners by airplane into the prison in Basra, where they were the prisoners were interrogated. These men were picked up in the middle of the night, removed from their homes, removed from their families, questioned, and most likely tortured, because that's what they were doing in all the other prisons, in Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo Bay. There's pictures of it. So I assume that they were being tortured there too. And I was told by the Army security who was picking these people up and bringing them to the plane, that this whole process, because I asked, why are these people here? Are they insurgents? Are they terrorists? And, the guy told me that, no, most of them were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Some of them were being picked up by curfew. And so, we would take hundreds of them to the prison and take more out and bring more in, back and forth. So systematically interrogating the whole male population of fighting age. I realized that these were the same types of tactics that were exactly like the oppression that my family had went through back home when they were being arrested or deported. But it was the times that I released the prisoners back into Baghdad, when I removed their handcuffs and I removed their blindfolds. I was the first person that they saw. I was the first face that they saw. And after getting out of the prison in Basra. And some of them thought that I was Arab just like them and began trying to speak to me in Arabic. But I couldn't respond to them. I only know how to say Assalamu alaikum, and that was it. And so when they realized that I was an American, I watched as the fear and terror just filled their faces. And they, hurriedly left the aircraft. They left the aircraft in a hurry. So at that point, I began to strongly identify with those who were supposed to be my enemy, because I saw the parallels in our struggles. And during my last months in the military, Hurricane Katrina had occurred. I performed medical evacuations in New Orleans for my last mission in the Air Force. At the time, I was proud. I was proud for a change. I thought I was helping, but I was wrong. Our response for evacuations came 5 days late. I saw the New Orleans International Airport in chaos. Helicopters constantly flew in and out, and bodies were being hauled around on stretchers. The terminal was full of people who were refugees in their own homelands. All of this reminded me of the war zones that I had just left. And, 3 minutes, dang, okay. I thought I had more time. I'm gonna go through this fast then. All right, but you know, black people were the only people that we moved that day. And so I saw the racism in the way Hurricane Katrina was handled. And we displaced them. They didn't even know where they were going. We took them to Kentucky, and they didn't even know that. They were very angry when I dropped them off there. They just got on the plane, and I said, you know, now we're landing in Kentucky over the speaker system, and they were like, Kentucky, you know. And so we displaced them, and, you know, I saw that I was being used in a racist war conducted by a racist military who treated their own citizens, the ones who were poor or people of color, like they were enemies of the state. And so it was a war that didn't benefit anyone but private contractors, military-industrial complex, and they used poor people and brown people to kill other poor and brown people. So this is just my story, but there are many veterans like me who are resisting. And Iraq Veterans Against the War, the group that I'm in, has a new campaign called Drop to the Mic. MIC, Military Industrial Complex, is an acronym for that. And so now, you know, President Trump is trying to spend something like over $600 billion or something on the military industrial complex, basically. And we are trying to stop that. You know, the effects of that are the loss of life of black and brown people by police brutality, education getting cut, and the prison industrial complex growing. Planned Parenthood and other healthcare services for women are taken away, and the inherent patriarchy of militarism. Children are being targeted by recruiters to join the military, while tensions grow as the Trump administration creates more threats of war. And also the alt-right and neo-Nazi hate groups are feeling more comfortable forming in public and attacking people that they see as targets defined by militarism. So in my hometown, in the San Francisco Bay Area, we are doing work where we're getting into public high schools and trying to create counter-narratives to this militarism. And we're focusing on counter-recruitment and police brutality right now. You know, I've done Know Your Rights trainings for these students and counter-recruitment trainings. And I think a lot of veterans who come out of the military don't know how to transfer their job skills. And a lot of them become police officers. And this is very problematic because there's a lot of veterans, I'm sure, on the police force who are working and haven't actually tried to get any mental health care and are undiagnosed with PTSD. And so we want to also create narratives of healing when we talk to these kids. We want them to hear that veterans like me who are suffering, who have suffered from PTSD, are seeking treatment and are healing ourselves through the community so we can break these narratives of toxic masculinity that say that asking for help or mental health is a sign of weakness. So, thank you. You know, those are just things that we internalize from militarism. And it promotes fascism, racism, patriarchy, homophobia, classism. So we want to build a better world where those don't exist for our future generations. And so I think I'm running out of time, so I'll just say that I hope that we can all come together at this conference and share our stories, our knowledge, continue to develop working relationships with each other, resisting war, militarism, fascism worldwide. And I look forward to meeting all of you this weekend and seeing how we can support each other's work, because I know that we are all fighting the same fight to take down the many tentacles of militarism, however they affect us individually or as a community. So thank you very much. I'll be rapping tonight.
Okay, we give a final round of applause for our keynote speaker. Long live international solidarity.
Long live international solidarity.
The people united
Will never be defeated.
the people
United will never be defeated.
Thank you very much, Norbert. So I'd like to thank Eddie. Many of you may be aware there were problems with communications and so on in Eastern Canada yesterday. Many flights were cancelled. Some of our speakers had their flights, and speakers and participants in the event had their flights cancelled. They'll be coming in today, or they arrived like Eddie very late last night. So it's great that he was able to do this. And you get more of Eddie tonight at the Solidarity Evening, so you can show up there. Okay, now your second most favorite part of the event is short break, 15 minutes. Okay, all right, please just 1 moment. Please be back here in 15 minutes. So be back at 11:10. And while you're out there, you'll see there are, please just an attention for a moment. I know you want a break. There will be workshop sheets there. Please sign up for the workshops that are going to be taking place tomorrow and Monday. Sign up for the workshop. See you back here at 11:10. Thank you.
Yo. Yeah, 'cause it's been